This is Raj Mully for the Spotlight, guys. How you guys doing? Check out this exclusive video by Nassed Gifted. It's a workshop that I did, inviting him to speak to some young men about his comic book series called PBS Soldier. He created a brand, he created a graphic art novel, he created the product, he created everything for it. He's also a principal of a high school in New Jersey. And he shared some key insights with these young men about creating their own digital product, digital comic book, and STEM as well. All right, Raj Mully for the Spotlight. Tune in. Peace.
Wow, look at it. Isn't it so cool? It's very cool. Cool. I literally...
Hey, give me that book.
And I use that to, help me navigate through the hood. Solve situations, things that were, coming in my pathway. So I only say all of that because, Roger was talking about me being a comic book creator, but my path wasn't designed, like I didn't set out to be a comic book creator. The only reason I became a comic book creator is because, and when I asked him about superheroes, just give me a superhero that you think about. When I say superhero, what do you think of?
No, I ain't watched that.
No, I'm just asking you. The superhero. Name a superhero.
Batman, I guess.
Batman. Wolverine.
Joker.
Joker. Superman.
Black Panther.
Black Panther.
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
The Flash.
Flash. So, the similar conversation that I'm having with you guys, I had with my son. And when we talk about superhero, an image came into his head. And that image was something that didn't look like him. So instead of me getting, and let me just tell you about my household. So we have into comedics, we talk about ancient Egypt and all of this stuff. He knows about Malcolm Martin, Marcus, all of the 3 M's. And I raised him about that to understand knowledge of self and know who we are, know who he is and where he comes from. So when I talked about the word superhero, none of those images will come up in his head. So I set out on a journey to change that. So when you hear words, when you learn from adolescence, words generate an image. And just like an image appeared in your head, I wanted to be able to change that image. So I play, so I go to high school, I play basketball, I'm into women, I dropped the comic book thing. But I was passionate, I had Saturday morning cartoons. Saturday morning cartoons was like my big thing growing up. And from that, I always liked Saturday morning cartoons and like martial arts and I liked all of that stuff. But when I looked at the TV screen, I didn't see anybody I could identify with. I didn't see anybody who looked like me. So fast forward, later on in life, I go to school for engineering, graduate, move into education. I do all of that stuff. I work with young people like yourselves. And I had this conversation, and I had a clothing line when I was in college. We did all these things. We went to Vegas. We did all these different things, and trying to determine what my legacy would be, because I know as a principal, one thing would happen is that I look to impact the lives of the individuals that I'm in front of. I'm looking. My personal mission is to inspire the next generation of technology leaders. That's my mission, but I know that if I was to die today, that people will mourn my death, and someone eventually will go into my office, pack my little box, give it to my family, and then they will replace me. So when I looked at that conversation that I had with my son, and I said, look, I need to develop something that's going to live beyond me. You know, and that's where this whole inspiration for this whole storyline came from. And then I look to use that to help infuse a couple of things, you know, and the thing that I want to talk to you about is all of this came from an idea, just an idea. Everything generates from an idea. So I have this whole concept of conceive in your mind, believe in your heart, achieve with your hands. Right? So conceive, believe, achieve. Right? And because of that, I was able to create my own world. And that is how I got to here, where I actually have an award-winning series called PB Soldier. You know, and I use that as a platform to not only tell a phenomenal story, give you exceptional artwork, but also help inspire that next generation of technology leaders. Right? So I hear, and you know, and then that's just like that's like my origin story, right? So like every comic book hero, they got an origin story. So that's my origin story. You know, I come out of, like I said, I come out of engineering. You know, I went into education. I knew nothing about developing my own comic book. I had to do research. I went to NYU. I took a course over there. When I took a course over there on storyboarding and animatics, you know, paid out of pocket and everything. You know, I just happened to the course because I just started putting stuff on paper. That's all I did. That's why I put stuff on paper. The stuff that I put on paper, I take these posters. And if you see my house, I got posters on my house of things that I want to accomplish. So regardless of what you looking to accomplish in life, you know, you want to be a scientist, you want to be a computer, you want to develop games, you want to do any of that stuff, you need to write it down. You need to write it down. And then the next thing that you would need to do, I take poster paper like that and I post it right on the wall. I post it right on the wall. And the reason I put it on the wall because it's a constant reminder of things that I need to do to work towards that. So I want to do 1 or 2 things each day to help me get to that goal. So I was talking with a brother, and I know a lot of you, you know, not really sure what you want to do right now. But so real quick, can I just say, and I thought I was on the right path, and I thought that, okay, I'm going to be this engineer because I had this experience in 10th grade. I worked alongside AT&T Bell Labs. I worked alongside this black engineer. And because he was an engineer, I said I could be an engineer as well. So I go through high school, that's what I want to do. I go to college, that's what I'm going to do. Right? I get my degree. I got this creative side in me, like the brother was talking about right here. And I'm like, man, this ain't really what I want to do. This is not corporate America and everything. That's not what I wanted to do. So I go and I travel the world. So you got to remember, poor kid from North New Jersey, never really had much. Now I become an engineer. Now I'm a thousandaire, right? So a thousandaire is a lot of money when you got no kids.
Word.
You know, so you're making money. So I'm stacking. I'm just stacking. Got a company car, got a credit card. You know, I'm stacking money like crazy. And I'm in this career, and I'm saying to myself, like, this ain't it. This ain't what I want to do, right? So I'm stacking all this money. So this is what I do. I say, you know what? When I was in college, I didn't get a chance to do spring break and all that stuff like everybody. You know, everybody going on these trips. They go to Cancun. They doing all this stuff, right? I didn't get a chance to do that. I was a part of this organization called Nassed, National Society of Black Engineers, where I met all these different black engineers from all across the diaspora, you know, all across the country. They was from all over. So I used to travel because of that, you know, because I was a part of this organization. But I never really had like spring break or any of those type of things. So now I'm getting this money, and I ain't got all these bills and everything. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna travel the world. So I start traveling. I go to Senegal. I go to London. I go to Colorado, Vegas, and a number of other things. This is my summer. This is what I was doing for my summer. I leave my job. We have this. This wasn't a comic book series. It was actually a clothing line. So we traveling to Vegas. We meet up with Snoop. We meet up with Jay-Z. We meet up with all of these guys. You know, because we in Vegas, and Vegas, what they call the magic show. So those who are into fashion, they have what they call the magic show. The magic show is where you actually, where the buyers go to buy the clothes and everything for the next seasons, right? So everything is 6 months in advance. So everything that you got on, you know, the buyers have to go to the show to put orders in for 6 months before it even comes out, right? So we did, and we meeting up with all these people and we doing all this stuff. So this is what I think that I'm going to do, right? And I think I'm going to invest in the stock market. I'm going to do all this stuff. I'm just going to flip money. That's how I think I'm going. That's how I'm going to operate, right? This is 2001, December 2001. So I'm rocking and rolling. This is what I'm doing. When I come back, I'm like, all right. If I want to, I'll get another job because at that time, the opportunities was out there. I throw my resume out, I get 5 calls back. Like it was just, you know, the market was hot like that. 9/11 happens. Whole market shut down. Me not planning that 9/11 would happen. Who would know 9/11 would happen? You know. Now I'm A'd out. You know, I'm spending all this money and I ain't really got nothing coming in. And like I said, my plan was originally like, all right, after I'm done with all this, just gonna get something and I'll be good. So 9/11 happened, whole market shrunk. I'm not able to pick up any opportunities. Money drying up, you know. I gotta move out my place. I gotta do all these things. Things change. I start substitute teaching. And while I'm substitute teaching, you know, I'm like, all right, I'm just waiting for this whole market to recover. I'm still gonna put my resume out. I'm gonna do all these different things, right? Still gonna try to, you know, get my own business off the ground, do all this. This is my mid-20s or whatever. And, you know, I start working with young people like yourselves. And then that drive, that passion, that's what got me into education. Because at that point, I still wanted to transition back into engineering. I wanted to do something else. I still wanted to kind of start my own business and everything. But young individuals like yourselves is what got me into education. And from becoming a substitute teacher, I became the teacher. Worked to my old high school, did the robotics thing, and then became department chair, became vice principal, and now currently principal. So while I'm doing all that, you know, of course I'm raising a family and I'm in the house a lot with my family because I'm not able to be in the streets like I used to be, like I was doing with the clothing line and everything. That's why my clothing line thing kind of fell off. Because you actually got to be out there, you got to meet people, you got to lace people with, you know, outfits and all that stuff. So while I'm in the house, I'm writing this story. My wife at the time, because I'm divorced, but my wife at the time, she was a flight attendant, so she should be gone like 3-4 days at a time. So I'm in there with my 2 kids, and I'm Mr. Mom, I'm doing everything, going to work every day and everything, and I'm just writing this story. I'm just putting it in paper. I ain't care about format, I ain't care about none of that. I'm just putting ideas on paper. And while I'm doing that, I'm actually learning how to write a script. I find out about, and I'm researching the industry. So any industry that you want to get into, you got to know what the top 5% are doing. You got to know who the top 5% is. So if you're in clothing, you want to do video games, you want to do any of those things, you want to know what the top 5% are doing. Because generally they set the model. And what you do, you take that model and you put your own spin on it. You know, now. Mm-hmm. You know. And the reason I was able to do that is Harvard Business School actually sells case studies of this stuff. Mm-hmm. So any industry that you try to get into, they have some type of case study, some paperwork, so you can actually see what their marketing plan looks like, what their business strategies are, all of those different things. So you can take that information and be able to take that and differentiate it so it can fit.